Scooby-Doo and the Red Devil Demon, written and performed by Ryan James Cheshire for Six Sec Productions. Scooby and the gang had gone their separate ways again. Fred and Daphne had continued to record the second season of Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake. For formalities, despite telling mostly the truth on Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake, Detective Bo lied in his official police report, simply stating that Simone and Lena were just part of a family of cannibals, which explained why the bodies of the missing people were never found on Zombie Island. Velma had returned to her bookshop, whereas Shaggy and Scooby had gone from job to job to job. The longest the two of them were able to hold down a job for was just 3 weeks, which was working in an ice cream truck. Unfortunately, none of the ice cream ever reached the customers. However, unlike before, the gang would always meet up regularly. During breaks, they would solve a few mysteries if they could. However, solving mysteries did not pay. However, all of this was about to change, or at least the gang thought so. Several months had gone by and not a single mystery had emerged itself. Mystery Incorporated were just hanging around, usually at either Fred or Daphne's house, since they were the only two who were able to actually afford them. Velma had a tiny apartment, and Shaggy was still living with his parents along with Scooby. They then suddenly heard a knock at the door. Fred, whose house they were currently at, went to go answer it. The door was opened. It was around 8 o'clock at night in winter, so when Fred opened the door, the room was just filled with the black darkness from outside, only being cut in by the shine of the moonlight. There was not a soul around, just a letter, addressed to Mystery Incorporated. The letter was from a Mr. Jimmy Wolf, claiming that his house was being haunted by a Red Devil Demon. Obviously, this was irresistible to the gang. Well, apart from Shaggy and Scooby, Bug, with the aid of a Scooby snack, were convinced to go along. Velma had to read the rest of the note in the mystery machine, since they hadn't even bothered to read the whole thing before rushing off. The letter stated that if the gang were able to solve the mystery of the Red Devil Demon, or be able to exercise it whatever suited them best, they would be rewarded with $5,000. At first the amount made them rather suspicious, until they saw the house. It may not have been the size of a mansion, but it was certainly larger than every average-sized house. Nevertheless, there was something just a bit odd about it. All the grass, trees, and bushes in the garden had been left unattended for quite some time, apart from the ones that reached the house, which seemed to have been kept in quite orderly and neat conditions. The house itself looked in immaculate condition, like someone had only just moved in yesterday. However, there were no lights on, which did seem suspicious. The gang also wondered why Mr. Wolf didn't just come to their house and ask them in person. Why the mysterious letter? Was this all just part of a game? Fred unfortunately hadn't brought his camera with him, not expecting to start to film a new season of Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake for at least 2 months yet, though they did have an audio recorder. It was Daphne who knocked on the door. No answer, no reply. Fred decided to give the door a louder knock. However, what Fred did not realise is that the door was unlocked, so on his final knock, he knocked so hard that he fell right through into the hallway. Yeah. Maybe we should start calling you Danger Prone Fred. Daphne remarked as Fred picked himself off the floor. None of the lights inside the house were on either. There was a strange smell, almost of decay. It filled the air around them as they entered Mr. Wolf's house. Velma initially theorized that it might have been asbestos, or perhaps an uncatered to plant. However, Shaggy and Scooby knew exactly what it was. "Like it's decaying meat," Shaggy explained. "Wait, how come you two know that?" Velma inquired. "Like me and Scoob shoved meat into a fridge once, but we forgot to plug it in."
Yeah, after a couple of days, it was all rotten.
Like all that wasted meat, Scoob. We could have made 50 of those quadruple sandwiches, and then quadrupled them again.
There's something really fishy going on here, Velma exclaimed.
Well, maybe Mr. Wolf's just, got no sense of smell,
Fred suggested to them. Even if he didn't, surely he would notice after a while, Daphne pointed out. Well, gang, we won't find out by just sitting here. Let's split up and look for clues. Before Fred could finish his sentence, the rest of Mystery Incorporated skated Daphne. Fred, looking slightly embarrassed, scratched his head and looked at the ceiling. Well, only if you want to, Daphne, he said without looking directly at her. Daphne rolled her eyes and grabbed him by the arm and pulled him off, followed quickly by Velma. Like maybe there's still some fresh food in the kitchen, Scoob?
Rah, rah, rah.
So while Fred, Daphne and Velma were still looking for clues, Shaggy and Scooby were looking for something that hangs expired in the kitchen. Everything in the kitchen was expired, apart from tinned and food rations. It looked like someone was trying to survive the apocalypse, and while that thought may have cropped into Shaggy and Scooby's head, their utmost priorities were finding something that they could eat. The two were digging into a jar of peaches that they had found sealed in the back of the pantry. The two of them were stuffing their faces so much that they didn't notice the red smoke that started to fill the room. The two only noticed when they started to smell a musty smell. The two turned around slowly, hairs on edge, teeth grinding together so hard that they were barely even there anymore. They had come face to face with the Red Devil Demon. He was around 8 foot tall, though they were a bit unsure as he appeared to be floating and they couldn't see any signs of legs. He looked like the devil all right. He had horns that almost sort of graced the ceiling. But the thing that was frightening Shaggy and Scooby the most were his eyes. His eyes glowed red like fire, like blood boiling in a cesspit. The Red Devil Demon had cornered them in the pantry.